don't have support.
A few days ago, someone wrote me on Instagram and asked me this question. What if you don't feel like you have support in becoming an author? It seemed like a sensitive question that could go multiple directions, so I replied and asked if the lack of support was from family or friends, from both. The person answered in a general way, saying that they wanted my advice on lack of support from family and friends. Just an overall lack of support. If you felt like you were called to pursue a career as a Christian author, but you have an overall lack of support from family and friends, then this video is for you. So I'm going to approach this question from two different angles. I'll approach it from what is true and from what is truth. Let me explain the difference. What is true, but only temporarily. For instance, if someone were to ask me if I am 49 years old, I would say, well, yes, that's true. But if they asked me the same question 1 year from now, I would have to tell them that it's no longer true. When I was a kid, it was true that I had a pet cat. Now, that is not true. At one time, it was true that I could use any kind of shampoo. Now it is not true. I am allergic to most of them. My hair is currently dark brown. That is true. But in high school, it was true that my hair was a honey dark blonde color. And in about a decade, it might be true that it's all white. In the 80s, it was true that I lived in Texas. In the 90s, it was true that I lived in Tennessee. And now it's true that I live in Texas again. You get it. What is true changes, but what is truth never changes. And truth can only be found in the Bible. That never changes. It isn't temporary. Now, it's important to distinguish between what is true and what is truth when asking a question about personal support. It might be true that you do not have support at this moment, but has it always been true? And will it always be true? Let's admit that it's oppressive when we say something like, I feel like I don't have any support, because it doesn't even allow for the natural ebb and flow of support or the ebb and flow of your feelings. You might indeed have support and not feel it. And if you really don't have support, I doubt that the lack of support extends in both definitions of your timeline indefinitely. Like a good coach, I'm going to offer a little pushback here and ask you to admit that you are not in an eternal state of no support. So a state of support or no support is in the true category, which means it's temporary, and we can handle temporary. I believe in you. So I believe you're committed enough to experience a temporary lack of support and keep going anyway, right? Okay then, that feels a little better immediately. Next, I would encourage you to define the word support. It means different things to different people. So what does support look like to you? What does it feel like? How do you know when you have enough support? How do you know when you don't have enough support? Is support an encouraging phone call every day? Is support coming to your speaking engagements and sitting on the front row? Is support asking you about how your writing project is going? On that last one, I would suggest that I've had many clients, who at first said they wanted that kind of accountability, but then they grew to the point of serious irritation with the friends who kept on asking how their book writing was going, and then they started to avoid them altogether. So be sure what you mean when you say you want support. It's possible that what you mean by a lack of support is that you have a significant person telling you not to attempt to become an author. And if that person is your spouse, I like what John Acuff said about that once. I can't find the quote, so I'll paraphrase. He said that spouses sometimes have a hard time offering continued support to a big dreamer because they don't see the proof of concept. They aren't seeing the money roll in. They aren't seeing more opportunities to speak. They aren't seeing the progress on the book. So give them a little reassurance in the form of evidence, or at least give them a break when they don't provide you with that steady stream of support you've been hoping for. Trust me, he said it better than I just did. But the point is that you're really asking a lot of a spouse when you're asking them to give you continued support in the face of zero forward motion. So go ahead and move forward. Don't make them push you. In fact, don't make anyone responsible for what God has asked you to do. God gave you the vision. And when he did, he gave you the faith to fuel the vision. He didn't give your spouse or your parents or your in-laws or your friends the vision. And he certainly didn't give them the faith to fuel a vision he didn't give them either. If they are just taking your word for this vision that they cannot fully see themselves, then that right there should be applauded. What great people! And they will go with you as far as they can using the faith they've got. But they may run out of fuel before the finish line, and that's okay. They might make a face or use a tone when you say forward ho, and that's fine too. Joseph didn't have his brother's support. David didn't have his father's support. Deborah didn't have Barak's support. Gideon didn't have his whole family's support. Mary didn't have the city of Nazareth's support. Paul didn't have the government of Rome's support. And Jesus, he didn't have anybody's support. By the end, everyone fell away. None of these people had the support they should have, but they did it anyway. When I first started this career in ministry almost 20 years ago, my friends and family were very supportive. They couldn't have been more supportive. They helped me run the book table after my speaking engagements. They helped me plan and deliver live events. They celebrated me when I won and they comforted me when I lost. But the longer I've done this, the lonelier it has become. I can't expect the same level of enthusiasm always and forever. And I can't expect all of the support to be directed toward me because other people are pursuing their callings from God too. And there are times when that means they can't be there for me because they're doing their own thing. Yeah, I've had to do a lot without any support at all. That is true. But it's not truth. This is the truth found in Joshua 1:4-9. I will give you every place that you set your foot. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Be strong and courageous because you will lead these people to inherit the land I swore to their ancestors to give them. Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, that you will be successful wherever you go. Keep this book of the law always on your lips. Meditate on it day and night so that you'll be careful to do everything written in it. Then you'll be prosperous and successful. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. God's promise to the Israelites still stands for us. That's the truth. It doesn't change. And did you notice, although God did not use the exact word support, he did give his definition of support? His definition of support is 3 things: his promise, his word, and his presence. That's all he gave Joshua, and it was enough. Now look back in your definition of support. Your definition might look different from God's definition, and in the difference between the two is your growth zone. Trust me, you do have enough support. There have been long seasons when all I had was his promise, his word, and his presence, and nothing and no one else. And it was enough for me, even when I wasn't sure it would be. It will be enough for you too, which leads me to my final observation as your coach. This one may sting, but Proverbs 27:6 says, faithful are the wounds of a friend, so lean in. A lot of times when we point the finger at others, saying that we need support from them, it's because we're not supporting ourselves. That's where the feeling of lack really comes from. If you were giving yourself enough support, you would still want and need other people, but the lack wouldn't be so loud. Concentrate on giving yourself support in every way you can. Really value self-support and focus on giving yourself more every day. Hold yourself responsible for the lion's share of support that you should be receiving. Because the more you believe that other people should be giving you the support you need, the more you spend time sitting in the victim seat. And the longer you sit there, the longer you're going to stay stuck and stalled. Because a victim seat is passive. It's only for a passenger, not for someone who really wants to go somewhere. Why? The victim seat doesn't have a gas pedal or a steering wheel. If this video was helpful to you, please share it with someone who could use a little support.